combat sports to make a living and be paid fairly. And now it's no longer, it's one of the worst places to go.
Show for $15 million has expectedly got a reaction from UFC fighters who see the $15 million figure. Now, I know that Mark Shapiro said that's Turkey's money, but what would you say to UFC fighters who see Conor Benn earning that sort of money and maybe being a little bit frustrated?
Well, listen, everybody, why is it a bad thing when guys make more money? You know what I mean? It's never a bad thing when guys make more money. It's always a good thing.
Welcome back to the channel. Yeah, so that was Dana White discussing pay at the UFC, and also earlier on you saw Ronda Rousey complaining about pay at the UFC. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Obviously, welcome back to the channel, and please make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. So, former UFC champion Ronda Rousey recently criticised fighter pay in the Ultimate Fighting Championship, and she had a lot to say, claiming many fighters are earning poverty-level wages despite the promotion generating billions in revenue. Her comments reignite one of the longest-running debates in combat sports: are UFC fighters underpaid? But at the same time, UFC CEO Dana White says the company's increasing bonuses and incentives for fighters, especially after a major media deal launched in 2026. So in this video, we're going to break down why Ronda Rousey is criticising fighter pay, how the UFC pay structure actually works, what Dana White announced in January 26 about bonus increases, and whether fighters are actually getting paid more. And yeah, so let's start. So Ronda Rousey recently argued that many professional fighters struggle financially despite competing in the biggest MMA promotion in the world. According to her, some fighters cannot support their families from fighting alone. Her argument's simple: that the UFC generates billions in revenue. Fighters take the physical risk, yet the athletes receive a relatively small share of the money. So the criticism isn't new, and let's point out that NFL and NBA players receive roughly 50% of league revenue. UFC fighters are estimated to receive around 15 to 20%. And that gap is one of the biggest reasons fighters' pay remains controversial. However, the UFC argues that the situation is more complicated and that fighters now have more ways to earn bonuses than ever before. And in January 26, Dana White announced a major change in the UFC bonus payout, starting with UFC 324. The promotion doubled its standard post-fight bonuses: fight of the night, $50,000; performance of the night, $50,000. Now the fight of night will be, and that was before, now the fight of the night will be $100,000, performance of the night $100,000. So that means at least $400,000 in bonuses are paid out per event, doubling the previous amount. White said the increase was part of a new era for the promotion following a massive broadcast deal. Dana White also introduced a brand new incentive for fighters who finish fights. So any fighter who wins by knockout or submission but does not win the fight of the night or performance of the night will now receive an additional $25,000 bonus. And the idea behind the system is to encourage more exciting fights. So White said that the UFC wants fighters to be rewarded for finishes rather than decisions. That means a fighter could potentially earn base salary, a win bonus, $25K finish bonus, or a $100K performance bonus. So the timing of the bonus increase is not accidental. UFC have signed a $7.7 billion broadcast deal with Paramount, significantly increasing the company's media revenue. And according to Dana White, fighters will benefit from this growth. Start with the new bonus structure. So he's told reporters that bonuses would increase as part of the promotion's new broadcast era, which began in January 2026. However, critics point out that bonuses are separate from base fighter pay. So while bonuses are higher, the minimum contract for many fighters has not allegedly significantly increased in years. So how UFC fighters actually get paid, as I understand it, is that you need to understand the structure. They're independent contractors. They get paid per fight, not with guaranteed yearly salaries. And with the show money, for example, you get $20,000 to show. This is just an example. Obviously, every contract is probably different. $20,000 to win. If the fighter loses, just $20,000. Obviously, if they win, they get $40,000. And entry-level fighters have historically started around $10,000 to show, to fight, and then 10,000 if they win. So around 20,000. But obviously, every contract's different, and everything's alleged. Allegedly, you need to look at people's individual fight contracts. The win bonus doubles the base pay per year. The system means half of a fighter's income depends on winning. There are now $100,000 awards for fight of the night, performance of the night. Finish bonus, there's a new $25,000 bonus. Now, where normal superstars in other fighting sports make a lot of money is in pay-per-view points. Only major draw champions and big stars receive a percentage of pay-per-view sales. So this is how fighters like Ronda Rousey and Conor McGregor would make huge paydays. And this, coming on to Ronda Rousey, ironically, she's one of the highest paid fighters in UFC history. At her peak, she earned millions per fight, PPV points, base pay, endorsements. For example, a fight against Amanda Nunes at the UFC 207 reportedly paid her around $3 million in base salary alone before additional earnings. So her criticism isn't about superstar pay. She's kind of trying to look after people who aren't getting paid as much. And it's at the fighters at the bottom of the roster. So the real issue is that UFC is the gap between the stars, like Ronda Rousey and a Conor McGregor, for example, or a lower tier fighter who might earn the 10k per show or 10k to win, with the 40k before expenses. And that's the thing, it's the expenses that take it out, because they have to pay a percentage to coaches, gyms, travel, management fees, training camps. That's why many fighters still have second jobs. So the UFC is clearly working on this increasing bonuses, but I guess it's kind of leaves a sort of sore feeling in UFC fighters' ears when they hear somebody in boxing, which is, well, there's a link in the ownership between, say, Zuffa Boxing and UFC with Dana White and that. They're thinking, well, how comes Conor Benn's getting a $15 million for one fight? That's how it was reported. I'm not sure if it's one fight. Maybe it was just like a joint. Who knows? I've not seen the contract. But they're thinking, why is he getting 15 million and we're here on 20 plus another 20 plus these performance bonuses plus, and then we only get about 15 to 25% off, the whole UFC earnings, whereas in other sports like an NBA, they might get a 50%. So that's why a lot of UFC fighters are complaining. But I guess the bonus and these things that Dana White's introducing probably is going to do a lot better for them. But I guess that's how it is. But, you know, UFC done its bit. Obviously, they've just got one champ per division. And, you know, it is what it is, man. So, do you know what? I thought I'd just take a look at that. You know, Ronda Rousey complaining about UFC pay. But for now, big up all the watchers and subscribers. But for now, I'm done talking. Come on.